Roethlisberger looks, crosser, Brown, he caught it, fights to the goal line, breaks the plane! Touchdown, Pittsburgh! That might win them the division!
Great drive. Well executed.
If he doesn't reach with the ball, the clock may run out. The reach with the football at the end of the run gets him across the goal line.
Wow.
If not, the clock is running with 9 seconds left.
One song only. We're gonna skate one song only.
No. All right.
Colin.
I think I solved it. I don't. It's summer, man. We're breezy over here.
What a terrible clip.
Shane, tell the Kindles why this clip is so significant.
So in 2016, me and Oliver were playing in the fantasy football championship. Neither of us have a championship. I'm in Dallas visiting my family, and my mom and sister, everybody wanted to go to the movies. And I told them, I can't. I've got to stay home and watch this football game. I'm leading the championship. This is my year. Everything's going great. Get down to the end, and the only thing that can happen for me to lose this championship game is Antonio Brown scores a touchdown on that play. He catches it, literally gets stood up at the 1 yard line, somehow reaches behind his head, over his back, scores a touchdown. Just almost broke every TV in my house. Just by myself, just so upset. Oh, it's terrible.
You took that in better stride than me. If a championship would have been on the line and I lost like that, I would have been breaking something.
Literally, the only thing that could have happened was that, and it happened.
But Ben, that kind of stuff doesn't happen to me and you, man. We bring it home, you know?
You know, some people have it and some people don't, Colin. It's just how it is in fantasy football and in life, you know?
Yeah. Well, folks, good friend Michael Shane Cazad is with us today. Let me find my applause meter. Yay. Dude, I'm not even on the settings. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, we've known Shane a long, long time. Ben, let's see, of the guests we've had, is he the one we've known the longest, other than like my wife? Obviously, I've known her longer than Shane.
Cody.
We would have been the same.
Well, but who'd you see first? You see Cody or Shane first?
Did y'all both report to football that year?
No, I didn't play football my freshman year. So, yeah, man, I think literally I met them at interviews for our social club.
So some of you guys didn't even really know each other until like March.
Well, baseball and soccer really didn't get along.
I didn't know outside of our friends Kirk and Chandler. Like, I don't think I knew hardly anyone. So, you know,
I don't know,
it is what it is.
Shane, did you catch our episode with Alan where we were asking what the hardest thing in sports is?
Yes, I did.
Did you agree with us that it would be hitting like a major league pitcher?
Yes, probably. As much as I hate baseball, that would not be an easy thing to do.
All right, Ben, tell the Kindles about Shane.
Shane Cazad, he is hailing. He graduated from Wiley High School.
Pirates.
Wait, yeah, it wasn't Wiley East, right? It was Wiley.
No, there wasn't a Wiley East.
Okay. Wiley High School in 2008, went to Howard Payne University, went and played soccer there. He did okay. I think he only broke like every scoring record that Howard Payne has. And would probably be in the Howard Payne Hall of Fame if he would graduate from Howard Payne. I think he's 6 hours short of 13. Oh, I'm sorry, a full semester load. or half or 2 semester loads for Shane.
Yeah, full year for me. But
no, Shane is I love that we've all kept in touch. It's funny if like my dad would see college friends like once every 5 years. Like I don't even know. It was so infrequent, and he had some legendary stories of blowing up a dorm and all this stuff, and you get to relive those like every 5 years. And then I felt like now with our friend group, because of technology, obviously, we get to relive kind of, not only do we get to relive like at the glory days, so to speak, we get to be a part of everyone's lives through, our group me message. And I think before that there was a text message. Before that was a Facebook group or something. I don't know. We've made the rounds. But yeah, no, it's been awesome to keep in touch with Shane and see him and his life and his 2 awesome kids. But yeah, it's been awesome. And I can't wait to hear what Shane has to say about his career.
Yeah, Shane's in the world of insurance. It is, I always want to say Farmers Branch, but that's a city. It's just Farmers, right?
Nope. Texas Farm Bureau.
Texas Farm Bureau.
See,
I thought you were a customer of his, Colin.
He did quote me once, but in my head, there's like 3 different farms. There's State Farm and Farmers, and then your Texas Farm Bureau.
Right.
Okay. See, people come on.
They all started off doing insurance for farmers. Is why there's a farm in the name.
Oh, all 3 of those.
Yeah, like everybody. That's kind of how insurance started. Was for farmers.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right. Well, see, we were going to plug Shane's company, send some business his way because he can write the entire state of Texas. Is that right, Shane?
Everywhere but the southern region. We don't mess with the hurricane area.
And now is a good time to get into the insurance game. So we'll let Shane plug that later because
it's a blast.
It's a blockbuster. Ben, you
Everybody
forgot to add.
Talking about it.
I was going to say, Ben, our wives get to relive our glory days too because they love hearing about all of our college stories and all the hilarious stuff that we were up to. They love hearing about it every day and every time we get together.
Yeah, I love when I say, "Aunt, should I tell you?" And she most of the time just says yes because she's heard the story. I forgot to mention Shane is an okay golfer. I think he's almost beat me a couple times on the course. He gets to play a lot more. He'll grap about insurance later in this episode, but he sure does get to play golf a lot.
I do play golf.
It's the new Chili's.
Last I remember, me and Patrick beat you and Kirk.
Well, I had Kirk.
Well, Kirk plays a lot of golf too.
Kirk's fade wasn't working that day.
It wasn't.
Well, Ben, I was going to say you didn't sell Shane's athletic ability well enough. So he was a stud soccer player in college, but he was good at like dumb sports, which annoyed me because I was not an athlete. I was supposed to be good at dumb sports like ping pong and volleyball and stuff. And Shane was better than me in all those things too. But occasionally me and Shane had the chance to team up for a doubles ping pong tournament, and we beat the president of the university and his son in the championship. So that's me.
We never lost.
That's me and Shane's claim to fame.
Yeah, Shane's annoying. Let's get that off. Like Shane's annoying. Like he'll start a sport and be really good at it, i.e. golf. I'm pretty sure I was there for his first round or his first several rounds, and he was terrible. And I felt like all of a sudden he was like, a 5 handicap, which if you don't know what golf is, like it's really good. And everything he picks up, I feel like he excels at. So he's one of those annoying people. Great at volleyball, great at basketball. Just annoying.
It's pickleball. It's pickleball now. I'm learning. These older people are beating up on me on the pickleball court.
Old people can throw down in pickleball, man. But Ben, I was going to say Shane's kind of he's the Kevin Durant of our fraternity because
here we go.
He couldn't get the ring on his own at intramurals. He had to leave our team and go to a super team, and he claims he did it so that we could bring in more athletes to our team. But he really, no coincidence, he won a couple of championships that very next season, right?
Yeah, and they beat us in the championship. It took him joining them to beat us by like 1 score in the championship. We were a Hail Mary away for beating them, and he joined this super team, the 70 win basketball team on the football on the football field, and yeah, he barely beat us. So
the Snow Brothers, they were a hidden gem.
Shane, do you remember we had one more play left, and I think Ben's secret play, which he called timeout to orchestrate, was like telling my little brother Keith, he was like, "You just go long, and I'll chuck it up to you."
We had 1 second left. What are we gonna do? Am I gonna throw it to you, Colin? Are you gonna go up and get the ball? No.
Well, we could have
You
designed
blocked for me for like half a second.
We could have designed
Couldn't even get the ball out of my hand.
Some kind of play, but we had this big team meeting. It was like, "Hey, Keith, you go to the back of the end zone. I'll throw it to you."
No, first off, we ran
Keith was a pretty good athlete.
Not to get too, again, shout out Cody, into the weeds here, Colin, because we're 10 minutes in, we're talking about our intramural football game. But I had Kirk and Keith, very tall individuals, way taller than anyone on there. Well, I guess maybe one of the Snow Brothers. And they're going to both go this way, and whoever had the least amount of people on them, I was going to throw to. So, I don't regret our decision. It was a great throw. It just was, it was unfortunate timing, unfortunate circumstance. That's all I'm going to say.
A little too late.
I've never been more mad at Shane than that night, because he was probably doing the fake nice, good game, good season kind of thing. And I just wanted to punch him in the teeth.
That's the worst. Oh, man, great. Hey, man. Yeah, y'all did. Hey.
Glad it was us two at the end.
Y'all hung with us. Anyways, well, I feel like we can talk about this all day. Shane, why don't you tell us what you do, how you got there? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I guess in 2012, I started working at the golf course in Brownwood at the Hideout. That's when I kind of picked up golf after soccer. Just needed a summer job, started cleaning golf carts and doing that. And actually, for anybody that knows the Brownwood area where we went to college, there's a golf course called the Hideout on the lake out there. And it turned into a development, and they sold property. They sold lots.
Great duck hunting.
Oh,
that's a great duck hunting.
Oh, Alan said
not to get off on a tangent here, but this golf course had 2 or 3 really big, we'll call it water hazards. I think that's where they pumped a lot of their water from. They were huge. They were 4 or 5 acres, each one of them, right, Shane? The ones that are right next to each other.
Several large tanks.
And then there was a bunch of smaller things. And I'd never been duck hunting before. I'm from West Texas. There's not a lot of duck hunting in West Texas. And we would get there. I hope I'm not going to get Shane in trouble. We'd get there. We get to take the carts at 6 a.m., whatever time it was. It was still dark. We get to take the carts. We get our shotguns. We drop the carts down to the tank, and all these ducks would come in. We, whenever it got light enough for shooting time, we'd shoot, and then after that, we'd take our golf carts and we'd drive around to all the tanks around the golf course and hunt. And it was the greatest thing ever. But yes, you were at the Hideout.
I will say, just a little brag on Ben. We were driving around a golf cart one time dove hunting during dove season. We took the top off a golf cart so we could swing our shotguns around. And we're driving, and these 2 dove fly up to Ben's left. I'm driving, and he's to the left.
Very safe.
Yeah, this terrible idea looking back on it. But he shot 2 dove while I was driving full speed in a golf cart out of the air. And it was one of the most impressive hunting encounters I've ever been a part of.
Squinting them down. Ben, what were y'all shooting? Desert Eagles out there?
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's that? Say nickels?
I said
Desert Eagles.
Shooting Desert Eagles.
But no, yeah. So I was at the Hideout.
Yeah, something like that.
Got a job selling lots. And I've always I guess before I got into sales, I've always enjoyed talking to people, knew I wanted to talk to people. Just kind of been something I've always done, and got a job selling lots at the Hideout. And it was a dream job. I was 22 years old. We only worked 2 days a week. Unfortunately, we worked on weekends, so I missed a couple of my friends' big events. We won't talk about Colin's wedding, but yeah. So we were selling lots, and the guy I actually worked with out there was an insurance agent for Texas Farm Bureau. And the thing about the lots and the golf course was there was a limited number of them, right? So there was 400 lots out there, whatever. And after a few years, we started kind of getting to the end of it. We were running out of lots. They were looking at other developments throughout the state to buy. It's what this company did. They'd come in, buy a golf course that had land around it, develop it, put in the road, sewer, water, everything, and sell the dream of an investment piece of property on a resort. And then you could build your dream house out there one day, whatever the case may be. But anyway, so in 2016, a buddy of mine that was an insurance agent for Farm Bureau in Brown County got the manager's job for Texas Farm Bureau in Mills County, which is in Goldthwaite, 30 miles east of Brownwood. And so he came over here and he asked if I wanted to come be an agent for him. Didn't know anything about insurance. I was still on my parents' insurance. Car insurance wise, just didn't really know much about it, but it was a sales job. I knew that's kind of what I wanted to do as I was doing that for the last 4 years. So I went and interviewed, got the job. And so I've been with Farm Bureau since July of 2016. So I guess I just started my 9th year.
Shane has always been good with people, like always had really good interpersonal skills. And, in fact, you'd want Shane on your team if you had to talk your way out of a few situations that we were in. But no, I don't blame Shane at all for going into sales. And I thought even 10 years ago he'd be really good at it, and he has been since he started there. But I was going to ask Shane, trying to sell lots originally, if that was one of your first sort of semi-adult jobs, what did you learn about how to sell to people? What kind of skills did you develop back working at the country club?
So that was a kind of a weird sales job, I guess. Now looking back at it, I didn't know any different. It was my first real job, I guess. But literally what it was, and if anybody ever gets the opportunity to take these tours, I recommend doing it. So they would bring people in, at a kiosk at the mall, or mail flyers, or at all these, tents set up at all these different carnivals, events, whatever. And they would literally say, we will give you $300, an iPad, a Scotty camera putter, or a Yeti cooler just to come take a tour of our resort. You had to go through a 90-minute tour with a sales guy, no obligation to buy anything. So, and then at the end of the tour, you get this free gift. We'll put you in a hotel, everything. So, on the weekends, as a 22-year-old kid, I'd run 6 or 7 tours, 6 or 7 families from all over the state in 90 minutes, trying to sell them a piece of property they know absolutely nothing about. So it's kind of crazy. And the only reason they're there, which a lot of people tell you this, is we just want our free gift. We don't even want to do this for it. It's like, well, to get your gift, you have to spend 90 minutes with me. So let's make the best of it. So kind of a weird dynamic.
And you mentioned this, Shane, sorry, I was gonna say, you mentioned they're restricted lots, so you didn't need like a real estate realtor's license.
No, yeah, it was
you
private
didn't need
property,
that, right?
and
you could just sell them.
Yeah. I was just fresh out of college, cleaning golf carts, and they asked me to come up and do that part of it. And next thing I know, I'm running tours, trying to sell property. And we had a lady that was licensed to do the contract part of it and all that. I guess she had to have some type of license, but it was our job in that 90 minutes to sell them a dream and sell them a piece of property. Which now, looking back at it, I played the hideout the other day, and there's probably almost 200 houses out there. So it's pretty cool to see that some people that did buy those, it's a lot different than back when we were driving around golf carts shooting dove and ducks. So.
Did you feel like, Shane, that you sort of honed your
harder?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you honed your salesmanship, or back then, did you know pretty early if they weren't serious buyers, maybe you weren't like throwing them your A game versus somebody who was interested? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. You could tell after you did it for a little bit. You could tell the people that were. Everybody says they're coming for the gift, but there are a few things you could do at the beginning to tell we need to spend time on this tour, and there's a possibility. Versus let's get through this as quick as we can, get them out the door. Because just like anything sales, it's really a numbers game. The more people you're in front of, the better opportunity you have to make a sale, and you have a closing percentage in whatever you're doing. And if for us, it was our closing ratios were 25 to 30%. So I know if every time I see 4 people, I'm probably going to make a sale.
Yeah.
So the ones that were for sure, and you could run through them, and we got to where they were fine with us pre-qualifying people, which I know is a big no-no in sales. But you're not going to waste 90 minutes on a family that you feel like is not going to purchase something from you.
Yeah. What going back a little bit further in college, I can't even remember when because you and I had a lot of classes together. Were you a history major?
I was for the first couple of years.
Okay. I was just going to ask, before you started selling lots, had you given any thought to what, like, your career options?
No, I just like everybody else that played sports, the teacher and coach idea always was there, and that's kind of what the history part of it was. But I never really thought about it. Just kind of like, I'm gonna go to school because I really want to play soccer in college.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out from there.
Okay. So I mean, and I was there too. I just don't super remember like your, I don't know what you were going after coming out of college, but I was just going to ask, like, so you were just basically open to anything. You just want to make money.
Yeah. So just kind of, and everything fell into place. In my family, my dad, he has a machine shop in Dallas. He started before I was born, so 30 plus years ago. Successful machine shop, and that was always kind of an option, I guess, if I needed it. I could always go back and work for him, but I didn't really want to cut metal my whole life, so tried to find other options, and it all just kind of fell into place from the working golf cart, cleaning golf carts just as a summer job with Henry. Henry got me on out there at the hideout working with him, and then kind of year later got into the sales part of it with the lots and fell into the insurance thing. So it all kind of just fell into place one after another and worked out.
Yeah.
So you go from selling a commodity on a golf course lot, right? Nobody really needs one necessarily. And then now you're like, you're selling something that everybody has and everybody needs in insurance. What was that like? Was it like a breath of fresh air? Every time I talk to you, you never really seemed like obviously you knew that the lots were kind of a means to an end for the time being, knowing that there was a limited, like you said, there's a limited supply of those.
Right.
And now you're going to insurance, which there isn't. So how different was that? And now you've got a sales leader, you're part of a team. I'm not saying you weren't part of a team selling lots, but I'm sure you're in a lot more structured situation. What was that first, couple of years like for you as an insurance agent?
Yeah, it was a lot different. Coming on with Farm Bureau, it's a great company, and we can get into a little more of the captive versus independent side of the insurance things. But coming into an actual company that invests in you and gives you the training and puts you in a situation to where, it's more of a corporate world and more of this is how we do things, and you're going to have a manager and he's going to have a district sales manager, and there's a line of command, and this is, how things have to be done. And it was nice to have that structure because, like I said, 22 years old, selling lots on the weekends, not a care in the world, just didn't really have many responsibilities at the time. It didn't always make a paycheck, but when you did, it was a good one and it was fun. And it's just, it was completely night and day. But getting into the insurance world, it's nice. They start you off with a little book of business, so you have an income rolling in, and you're learning the business as you go. And one thing about insurance is you buy a car, you buy a house. Around where I'm at, you buy a tractor or a piece of equipment. Like you were saying, it started with the farmers. We do a lot of, farm and ranch stuff. Everybody's got to have insurance. The state requires you to carry insurance. So there's always going to be a plethora of opportunities to take care of families. And that was a nice part of it too, with like you said, the resort thing, the lot thing. It's more of a commodity. It's more of this would be fun to be able to take our family out here and play golf on the weekends, or go swimming at the swimming pool, or have an idea of building a house one day, But in the insurance part of it, yes, it's a sales job, but if you get in a wreck, you're going to call me and we get to put it back together, or heaven forbid, you have a fire loss at your house or something like that. So yeah, it was a big shift in the way I viewed it and kind of the responsibility I had in making sure people are protected properly versus, hey, I'm going to take 90 minutes to sell you something you don't really need.
What went into getting licensed?
So
Shane?
what? Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to ask because we have lots of friends who do insurance, and some of them and some of their companies can offer products that others cannot. So is that a separate licensing test with the state? And then my second question is, just because you're licensed in Texas, does that mean you cannot sell in other states?
So when you ask different things, like different licenses for different things, are you talking about like home insurance versus car insurance versus life insurance? So in Texas, there's 2 licenses that we have to have. There's a P&C license, which is property and casualty, which is your home and auto insurance. And really, home, auto, motorcycles, farm equipment, ranch stuff, rent houses, all that falls under your property and casualty. It's just one license.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a life and health license for life insurance and health insurance that you have to have as well. So 2 separate licenses there. In Texas Farm Bureau is a captive agency. So I work for Texas Farm Bureau. I can sell Texas Farm Bureau insurance. I can't go out. We have a few brokerage companies that we can write certain things through, but it's pretty limited. And we focus on Texas Farm Bureau. We've got a buddy, Nick Klein, has an independent agency. You call him for a quote, and he's got 20 different carriers he can quote it through. Now those guys, they might be able to do some stuff out of state, but I would imagine you would have to have some type of out of state license or national license or something like that.
Okay. So you guys, obviously Texas is a massive market. I was just wondering, like, if you happen to live on the border of another state, it might make sense that you could sell insurance to people in that region, but it sounds like probably not.
You would probably just have to be licensed in both states.
Oh, okay.
I would guess, because like State Farm is a captive agency or a captive company, but State Farm is all over the United States. So Texas Farm Bureau is strictly Texas. So we don't really have to, I guess, worry about that part of it.
Right. How hard is it to pass those licensing tests?
It's not bad. So we went, they put us through a class, a Monday through Thursday class, and then you take the test Friday. One of my professors or teachers of the class made a joke. He said, everybody's going to make 100 on it. And he was saying everybody's going to make a 70 because it doesn't matter if you make a 70 or 100.
Yeah.
And there was 20 people in our class, and I think all 20 of us passed it. So I've never taken any other licensing test, but I've heard versus like talk to buddies that are in real estate. It sounds very difficult to get through that class, and there's a lot of hours that go into it and a lot of stress going into passing that test. And I wouldn't say the insurance test was anything like that.
I heard it's really difficult.
The life and health side. I failed a couple times. Did you go to the class or did you try to self-study?
No, it was. So I literally didn't. So this was 2012. State Farm was going to bring me on as a whatever they call it, like a yeah. So like you're gonna own your own office or whatever that works. So I went and I got my P&C, and then I took the P&C. I think, man, I'm really about to. I think I took it 3 times. I took it once I only took it twice. I took it once in Dallas, and then the next one when I was way down in Waco. So I had to drive down to Waco and take it, and I passed. And then the health and these weren't. I literally just had a book that was like 10 years old. I was going off of, and the agent was telling me, "Oh yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine." And then like the health and life, and all it is remembering. It's just like numbers, right? It's just remembering
different forms,
statutes, and just like worthless stuff. Like, anyways, and then the health and life, I failed it. I want to say 3 times, and the last one was in Norman, Oklahoma, and I'll never forget that drive back, like. Just thinking, like, Ben, what the heck are you doing? Like, because I didn't want to be an insurance agent, and it was just kind of a get me out of this sales job that I was in. It was miserable. It was rough. So I heard it's really difficult. I heard the test is very difficult.
So I will say, if you self-study, it's going to be a lot harder. I've had people, coworkers that have taken it the self-study, or they tried to self-study and take the test and failed. And then they go take the class. And the thing about those classes is, the 2 guys that taught our classes, they take the test every year. So they know exactly what's on the test. And they're going to tell you, remember this part of it, or this part's going to be on the test. This part we've got to go over, but it's not going to be. So then you make your notes. And then the night before the test, you study the things that are going to be on there versus a whole book where you have no idea what you're getting into. So, I think if you'd have taken the class, you'd have passed it for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was.
Shane, I got a bunch of questions about insurance. And then toward the end, we could get into the state of insurance. I was joking about it being a good time. You've been telling us insurance is a really tough business right now. So I thought we could get into that as well. But one of the questions I had was how you guys make your money. And the reason I ask that is because like residuals and just retaining customers, I wouldn't imagine the margins on that are very big. So is it a numbers game of if we can retain, I mean, what do you call it? Just re-signing, or I don't even know what the term would be.
Yeah.
But
So
Renewals.
Yeah. So you renewals. Yeah. So, an auto policy in Texas typically is a 6-month policy. So, every time your policy renews, say I have you in Kristen's insurance, every 6 months your policy renews, I make a very small commission on that. Right. So in the grand scheme of things, your book of a couple $100 a month car insurance, the commission is going to be very low.
right.
But so when you start, and that's the whole thing you hear in the insurance business, if you'll grind for a few years and you'll actually build your book of business and put the time in, you see all these guys that are 50, 60, 70 years old that have these huge book of businesses that they're making tons of money. It's because they've built that book and they've got thousands of small policies on the books. So auto policies every 6 months, homeowners policies every year, they renew, you make a commission on that. So as you build your book, you got policies renewing every month based off of when they signed up with you or whatever the case may be. And so that's your renewal book. And then new business, every time you write a piece of business, auto policy or a piece of equipment or a house insurance policy, you make a new business commission, which is a little bit larger. And then it goes down. Then it goes down into the renewal part.
Okay.
And the percentage drops.
Well, the reason I ask is because I was with a broker when I was, I was with a broker in Texas, and he was great. And every year he would shop around and tell me, whatever different companies I could go with or whatever. And I would think every year, I was like, not that he's got to bend over backwards, but if he's doing that for every customer and making marginal profit off of my particular policy, sometimes I was wondering, like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, what incentivizes you? Like, what if a customer is taking up a lot of your time or something like that?
I mean, just like anything else, you have problem customers or problem insureds, but there's really just only so much somebody can have on insurance once you get them signed up. I mean, like car insurance, changing vehicles or I don't know, lien holder stuff or whatever. But and that's another big difference in the independent versus captive world. Like, I keep saying I'm captive. There's not an option for me to shop your insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, it's going to renew. You're going to get your renewal in the mail. If you're upset with it, you can call me. And we're getting a lot of these calls right now. Like I say, in the insurance industry right now is just in a really rough place. Rates are high across the board. So I'm getting phone calls every day about renewals. Rates are increasing. It doesn't matter what your situation is. You might not have any claims in the last 3 years, good driving record, good claims history. Rates are just going up. And there's little things you can do, like change your deductibles. If you have a $200 deductible on your car insurance, you can bump it to $500 or bump it to $1,000, and it'll save a little bit of money here and there. But I can't shop it versus an independent agency, like you said. He can, and a lot of independent guys, who we're talking about, he does a really good job about shopping insurance and trying to make sure everybody's taken care of at the best rate. But a lot of these independent guys, they'll leave it with the company and not shop it because it can be time consuming and it can be a lot. If you have a big book of 600,000 customers, 1,500 customers that are renewing every day, you don't have the time to rerun these quotes. So it typically only happens when somebody calls you about their rates, then you'll rerun it, which is an aggravating part about the independent side. Well, why aren't you shopping them for me when it renews automatically? They don't understand that there's a lot that goes into that.
Right.
But yeah, I don't got to worry about that part of it. Just, we're Texas Farm Bureau and these are what our rates are. And we try to keep it as low as we can and keep everybody happy.
What would be the benefit of a captive? Is that the term you used, captive, of a captive agency? Yeah. Is it brand recognition to say,
it is.
I mean, because and I was joking about confusing your names earlier, but like big names like y'all's and Allstate and State Farm and all these companies that people know of, is that the selling point there? Is like, we're a big national company?
It is. And as far as when you first start in the insurance industry, a lot of insurance guys, or when you get in the insurance industry, they'll go captive to begin to get the training and get the guaranteed book. And then later on in life, they'll go be an independent agent because they feel like they can make it on their own. And there's the big argument all the time about captive versus independent, who makes more money, this and that. But And one of the reasons I like it is, so say you have Texas Farm Bureau insurance and you get in a car accident. You call me, we file a claim. I know the adjusters personally. I've got their cell phones. I call the adjusters. They call you personally. And it's a small circle and it gets taken care of pretty quickly. On the independent side, you call your independent agent, you get in a car accident. Well, first of all, he's got to find out which company you have, then we got to go through the claim process of that company. Then we got to find out who the adjuster is for that company, which it could be. It's not going to be somebody local more times than not. And every claim is handled differently. The agent's really not involved because he's working for so many different companies. And it's more of just a broad, I don't know. I don't work for an independent agency, so I don't want to say how it really works. But I know with us, it's all handled in-house. It's all handled with local adjusters. It's all handled through the company, and it's taken care of pretty quick. So just stuff like that, more of the family type community within the company, and I don't know. It's just.
I'll tell you what you won't get when you're needing an insurance card to purchase a vehicle on let's say. I think it was a Friday night, I believe. It may have been Saturday night. I can't remember. And you call your agent up because you don't have the actual card or whatever. Because who keeps who takes the cards out of the mail and actually keeps that all the time. And most insurance are on file anyways, right? So you really don't even need it half the time. For some reason, this car dealership needed it. I call my agent, Mr. Shane Cazad. It's 9 o'clock. I'm thinking he's like playing pool somewhere or something, or maybe even past 9. He drives up to the office and emails it to me. You're not getting that anywhere else. This isn't a commercial for, Texas Farm Bureau, but that was really nice. And that wouldn't have happened anywhere else. I'm not saying that everybody should do that if you have Shane as an agent, but it was a nice little thing.
Yeah, we try to take care of everybody, and that's another thing just aggravating about, you want to talk about work-related stuff, is these car dealerships now, legally in the state of Texas, you have 30 days to add a vehicle to your policy with the same coverages that you have prior on your policy, right? So if you have a car that has full coverage and you go buy another vehicle, that car is automatically covered when you purchase it. You drive it off that lot and get in a car accident, there's coverage for it. And when I first started, 9 years ago, it was never a thing. But now it seems like every weekend we get calls that, oh, this dealership needs proof of insurance, and I don't understand why. I don't know if they're just trying to be a pain, or they've got new protocol, and new rules that they have to follow. But dealerships are always needing something, and it used to not be that way. So just another pain for the car buyer, because somebody will go try to buy a car on a Saturday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they might have driven an hour or 2 hours to go buy this vehicle, and they get there and they can't buy it.
It's a fun process, especially when you have 2 young kids. You're waiting in the dealership and they're telling you need a car. I was like, well, I'll call Shane. I did not expect him to do that. I expected him to send it to me, whatever it was, the next day or whatever, and I was just going to come back and get the car, but he did it.
Oh, it's just easier to do it real quick. It doesn't take 2 seconds. So
when Kristen was shopping around for a car before we moved up to Illinois, she's very feisty. Like she had done her homework and she knew what she wanted and she knew the price point she wanted. And this guy was giving her the runaround. I mean, she was ready, basically to pay cash for a car. And the guy at one point said something about, are you and your husband ever going to come up here together? And Kristen was like, he doesn't know anything about cars.
It's like that Nate Bargatze thing where it's like, is the man of the house here? That's what the guy asked. The repairman asked Nate. He goes, I think she's around here somewhere.
The one time, I don't know, Shane, you probably haggle all the time because you can. I'm just bluffing. And so one time I was going to get a car. This is probably 7 years ago because we were having our first baby and I needed a back seat. And I had this game plan. I'm Googling, how do I haggle? And I just wanted to get the price point down. I go in and she's like, this is the only price I can give you. I was like, hey, that price sounds great. Let's make a deal.
Threw all the plans out the window and just went with it.
Dude, not to get off topic here, but when I'd go with my mom, I would be so embarrassed by the time we left. And I hope she doesn't listen to this. I don't think she knows what podcast or I definitely don't think she knows what YouTube is. But I'll never forget. Like we were in a car dealership, and she would just. I'm probably like 8, 9 years old, and she'd like say a price, and they'd say like, "No, I can't do that." I goes, "All right, let's go. Come on, Ben, get your stuff. I don't want to deal with this." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And she would literally like, we'd start marching out. They'd like try to stop her. It's like, "Okay, well, I'll come back and sit down, but this is non-negotiable." Like, "Oh yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am." And they do it again, and then something else would come up. He's all right, y'all did it. All right, let's go, Ben. I think from then on, like I just whatever price it is, like I don't care. Like I don't care. I'm probably get screwed all the time on like, on stuff I can haggle down. I just can't do it.
Dude,
I feel like that's me sometimes. I'm such an easy sell. Like I don't know. They say all salespeople are that way, but you tell me something or try to sell me something, I'm probably gonna buy it.
well, I was gonna say I avoid conflict so much that on Sunday after church we went to lunch and the guy brought me and Kristen the wrong thing. I knew it was the wrong thing. I was just gonna start eating it. And she was like, "What are you doing? This isn't what we ordered." I was like, "I'm just gonna eat it."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like I don't
I'll
want
say
to.
this.
I don't want to offend the waiter.
So this is the last thing
I
I'll
wish
say.
I
Then we
could.
can move on. Oh, go ahead, Shane.
I wish I could show y'all just how out in the country I live. So I'm at my office right now, and we have glass windows, and I just looked outside, and a skunk's walking by. Like, I'm not, like literally, a skunk just ran by my office.
That's funny. I was gonna say, moved into our college house on 3rd and H in Brownwood. Guy comes by to sell me like some type of cleaning supply. It was like $20. All I had was 100. And you think I was like, you know what? Y'all wait right here. I'm gonna go break this, and I'll be right back. Y'all think that's what I did?
Nope.
No, I gave him a $100 bill. They took off. I got the cleaning supply, and I was like, Ben, you just paid $100 for this. I waited. They didn't come back. And finally, it was like 2 hours later, they came back and brought me my change. I was just sitting there like cussing. I know. It ends up happy, but I was just sitting there like, Ben, you idiot! Like I was supposed to last me like a week and a half, 2 weeks, or whatever.
Right.
Whatever, $100 to get you.
Yeah,
in college.
back then, $100 went a long way. Yeah,
I was like, man, if I could just hear my mom, like, like you dummy, like why would you do that?
I remember that house on 3rd and H, Ben, because I think one time I came over and we invited Shane to come over, but I think he wasn't feeling good or something. But I do remember that sometimes we'd get together at that house. But Shane, you live somewhere else, right? Over by the soccer fields?
Probably at the doghouse.
Oh, okay. Thought so.
Well, Shane, we've alluded to it. So why don't you, unless there's something else, why don't you tell us kind of how insurance has changed just since you started, maybe even just in the last few years? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So it's funny, you know, you get people coming in the office all the time. Oh, I need full coverage on my vehicle, and I want it under $100 a month. And those days are just gone, right? I mean, when I first started in 2016, I remember I insured my truck, just a F-150, put full coverage on it, and it was $70-something a month. And everybody, if you had a good insurance score and you had good claims history, you know, and all that, I mean, it was nothing to have $70, $80 a month car insurance, which was awesome, you know. And just to give an idea, now I've quoted a few people's cars insurance just today or within the last week. If you can find it $180 to $200 a month, I mean, you're really doing pretty good. And it's just hard for people to grasp that. And I know the word inflation is thrown around so much. But in the insurance industry, the problem is 3, 4, 5 years ago, say we had a claim and you hit a deer. We have a lot of deer claims out here where I live. And you took it to the body shop, it'd probably cost $1,000, $1,500 to fix. You know, you hit that same deer and have that same claim in the same vehicle today, it's going to cost $3,000 to $3,500 to get it fixed. So in the insurance industry, the storms are talked about a lot right now. You know, in the DFW area, we see it a lot. These big hailstorms are hitting these big metropolitan areas, you know. So in Wiley, for instance, where I grew up, a hailstorm hit a few years ago, and the neighborhoods in those areas, I mean, there could be a neighborhood on 10 acres that has 50 $500,000 homes. So a roof, you know, and say a big hailstorm hits that and destroys every roof in that neighborhood. Well, used to, you could get a composition roof put on for $8,000-$10,000, and now it's costing $15,000 to $20,000. Well, those, the company's having to eat that difference, so that's why rates are going up. It's trying to keep up, and it's gotten pretty crazy. There's several companies in the state of Texas that have lost so much that they've pulled out, and they're not even writing new business in the state anymore. They're doubling their renewals, and they're just not writing. Farm Bureau, one thing that we've done, and I'd say we've done, I bet 9 out of 10 companies have done, is we've gone to 2% windstorm, hurricane, and hail deductibles on your house insurance. Right. So a deductible is what the customer pays with a loss. So if you have a car accident and you have a $500 deductible, you pay the $500, we pay the rest to get it fixed. On the house, it's typically a percentage of what your house is insured for. So say you have a $100,000 home, just to make numbers easy, and you have a 1% deductible, it's $1,000, and then we pay to replace your roof or whatever the loss is. So everybody's gone to, and $100,000 isn't a good number to use because there's not really $100,000 homes anymore. But so for, say you have a $500,000 house, you have a $500,000 home with a 1% deductible, you're paying $5,000 out of pocket. Okay. Well, we've pretty much everybody's bumped it to 2% to try to combat the smaller claims and replacing the roofs, honestly. So now that same $500,000 house has a $10,000 deductible. You see, so it gets kind of hard to justify filing these smaller claims, and it's just trying to really keep the company from losing as much money. Because at the end of the day, we're here to protect and keep your standard of living, but it's a company and we've got to make money as well. So the claims we're trying to limit them and keep the numbers a little more reasonable.
Do you know anything, Shane, about Ben, you could probably correct me. Is it called actuary science, which is basically the numbers of how these companies run? And so it is really interesting to me because, like you say, people just probably think that insurance companies are really, corporations in general are greedy. And I'm thinking, but they're responding to something. And the thing that they're responding to is that costs are up. And if they're not profitable, they can't even offer you the service to begin with. So, I mean, everyone wants to make money, but I don't know. People just don't get it. Like if companies were way too greedy, then they wouldn't have any new business. So they have to toe that line of making profits, but also being affordable enough to attract new business. And so I guess all that to ask, do you know anything about the back end of how these rates are being set? Because as I've understood insurance, it's always a gamble from the company's perspective. We have such a wide client base that even if a hurricane hits down here, we're still making money off the other 99% of our business. Is that the model?
Man, to be honest with you, I'm not certain, but I do know, just with us just being in the state of Texas, we have different regulations, and the hurricane stuff, the southern tiers, tier 3, tier 2 kind of is what we call them. I don't know. We're not even allowed to write insurance down there. So I don't know how that part of it works, but it's one good thing. I really don't know, to be honest with you. The rating systems and everything. I mean, we've got our corporate office that handles all that, and they send us memos on it and when rates are going up and stuff, but we don't get a why or our loss ratios on this place is doing, I mean, it's completely different department, I guess.
Yeah. And I didn't think that you guys did write it or anything. I mean, they probably have their own economist or budget analyst or whatever, but that part of it's really interesting to me as well, because if they overreach, like you say, some of those companies may not even be able to write new business, but you guys have to stay viable. So everyone's
that's what,
I mean,
yeah. Well, I was gonna say that's what's so weird. So Shane, you told us about and I hope it's okay. You just tell me to stop if you can. But there's like a big house and ranch somewhere in the state of Texas that you can't even get insured because it's too expensive. And I'm just like, and I'm right there with you, Colin. There's not a dollar amount for a premium to charge them to make sense. I just feel like there has to be some dollar amount.
That's just,
and maybe it's just outlandish, but
yeah. And I'm sure there's a company out there that will, it's just, and these are just regulations that Farm Bureau's put into place. There's independent companies that specialize in high value risk, because that's what insurance is. It's a risk. You pay a premium with the risk of something bad happening. We hope we never have to use insurance. Everybody hates paying for insurance, but when the time comes and that risk does happen, we have a covered loss and we'll take care of it. But Farm Bureau, we're not insuring anything over X amount of dollars, whether that be $1 million homes or whatever it is. But
so Farm Bureau is trying to get away from like a single loss impacting their bottom line, essentially, right? So like there's nothing an individual, like you said, a hurricane, like I would consider that a single loss. Like if a hurricane hit a certain area, that's why you don't do that. But I'm guessing Farm Bureau probably, did they react any to the fires in the Panhandle that impacted? I'm sure they had a lot up there.
We had a lot of business up there. That's all farm and ranch stuff, and that's what we specialize in for the most part. So I'd be lying, but we got reports on it, and it wasn't as bad as the company thought it was going to be, but and the numbers might be wrong, but I want to say it was like a $13 million loss for Texas Farm Bureau.
Oh, okay.
But and it's not really far-fetched to get to those numbers with these, and I always revert back to these hailstorms because the last several years that's what's been the big killer in losses. But I mean, like I was saying, that same neighborhood in the Metroplex that gets hit by a hailstorm, you start losing a neighborhood of roofs and cars sitting out front. It's nothing to get into a several $1 million loss. But we're just with one storm, and then those storms are popping up more frequently, and we're having more hail. So in a cell that's moving, from to the east, starts out in West Texas and moves east through all these major cities. I mean, you could have 10 hailstorms in one cell in a 24-hour period.
I wonder what this is, and I sort of a question for I guess historians, not you guys, but what 150, 200 years ago, I wonder what the model looked like, because not that I get hit up, but I see it all the time. Like, be sure you have life insurance and this kind of insurance and this kind of insurance. And all of us have insurance for everything, especially with kiddos and spouses and things. I wonder what it used to look like. People just taking losses, I guess, or maybe they were more incentivized to protect their own stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder what it used to look like.
I think it goes back to what Shane was talking about with inflation. 100 years ago, you could replace items pretty easily. I mean, it'd be expensive, but a house didn't cost like 5, 6, 7 times your annual income, right? Your car didn't cost your annual income, but I mean, there are safety nets now that weren't around back then. But I think, inflation just has increased you talk about risk, like not only risk to an insurance company, but the risk to individual person. If something happened, like how are things going to work for your family, right? Yep. If I don't have insurance on my car, and don't get me wrong, banks are a big driver of insurance because they require you to have homeowners insurance that adequately covers, the balance on the loan. They require, your car to, the insurance on your car to adequately cover if there's a loss, right? So I think it's a combination of just everything is so expensive nowadays. With not only is everything expensive, everything is financed. And everything that's financed, they want to make sure there's a mortgagee on, I'm about to butcher the saying, but make sure that there's insurance on every single thing.
I mean, they've got, the word we use is they've got an insurable interest, because they technically, until you pay for it outright, if there's a total loss and it's not insured, I mean, they're out that money too. So as long as they have an insurable interest, which is that note, then they're going to make you carry insurance on it.
Well, I had one more question, and then Shane, if you have a couple minutes, Ben wanted to segue into a video he wanted me to find, and he wanted to talk a little shop on the medical side of things. But Shane, I was going to ask you not for who has insurance. We all have insurance. What advice would you give to people like year over year? If people are happy with their agent, would you just tell them, don't worry about the rates, or would you recommend that everyone sort of is diligent and looking at competitors for agencies? Like, what would you tell the average Joe when it comes to insurance?
Well, I mean, if you're with Farm Bureau, I'd say stay with Farm Bureau, obviously, but no, it's shopping insurance isn't a bad thing. and it's more prevalent now. Years ago when rates were more balanced, I guess, it really wasn't that big of a deal because rates were pretty much the same through every company. It's just you found an agent you liked, you found a company that you trusted, and you went with it. But now, I mean, like I said, I get several phone calls every day about renewals on both sides. People with Farm Bureau that aren't happy with their rates going up so much, and more so people with other companies wanting to get quotes because their rates have gone up so much. So, but I do think there's some benefit to longevity and loyalty to an insurance company.
Right.
I mean, somebody that switches, say we took a rate increase July 1st, right? If you were with us prior to that, you're not necessarily going to see that rate increase, but anybody that gets a quote after that will take those rate increases. And then companies offer, I mean, some of these different companies offer new customer discounts or bundle this or do this, and so we'll have a lot of people leave, get a cheap rate for 6 months, and then they see their premium increase by 50% or whatever it is, and then they'll be wanting to come back. So you just got to be careful. And my main thing is when I've gotten to the point to where if somebody's shopping and they're getting quotes, I'll tell them, let me look at the quote. I don't care what the price is or anything. I just want to make sure it's a reputable company. I want to make sure you're covered properly, because that's another thing is, say I've got you with, X coverage, and you go get a quote from somebody else and they don't have you covered properly. The average person doesn't know what insurance looks like. They don't understand what coverages mean. And we try to educate our insureds on it. But if you go get an online quote or you get a quote from these internet companies, you don't know what you're getting, and you're just trusting that whoever populated this quote does. Well, then you have a loss and you come to find out you don't have coverage. Now everybody's unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like anything else. When you go to the store to buy something, typically you're not going to buy the cheapest thing in the store, but you're not going to buy the most expensive. You just need to find something that you're comfortable with, that you feel like you're protected properly, and at the time of a loss, you're going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's good advice. I mean, I miss having somebody who I could actually like text or call and who knew what he was talking about, because I've been with the agency up here for 2 years now, where I honestly don't even know what city he's in, and I need to find somebody else. But I think you're right that the personal nature of it and being able to talk to your agent goes a long way, and trusting that, that they're not trying to fleece you. Like, they want to get paid, but they want to get you covered. So I think it works both ways. Ben, any last minute questions for Shane?
I was going to say, not to peel the curtain back too much, but all these insurance companies know what premiums and everything every other one's providing, right, Shane?
For the most part,
Farm Bureau, there's people, they all know what everybody's doing. There's some outlandish ones you'll find here and there, and so you're just not going to save a whole lot of switching from one to one. Like, you're just not going to save that much. And believe me, I've looked everywhere, and this isn't just an advertisement for Farm Bureau, because I do like it. And Shane's taking care of us, but you're just not like someone. I've had Geico in the way past. I've had Allstate, and I've had an independent company that I went through, and you're just not saving a whole lot of money, because it's just like banks. Come from the banking world, I could tell you when I was in the banking world, I could tell you what the bank across the street is going to offer you, like in a rate wise on a commercial loan. I could tell you honestly, even online, like I could tell you. And so like you find somebody that you're comfortable with and that you know is going to take care of you, and you just stay with them, that you're just not going to save that much money. And on top of that, like, Farm Bureau, they offer life insurance. That's a big thing that as an insurance agent, you're pushing, right, Shane? Life. And I think health is a little different, but there's so much, property and casualty losses nowadays that insurance agents are having to stretch and push life insurance that you probably weren't doing that 5 years ago, right, Shane? Or maybe 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah. And, it's just a different market, and it's needed, but yeah, you're right. The P&C world is so crazy right now. We're trying to sell all lines and retention as well. If you are in the insurance world, the more lines of business you have with somebody, say it's just a mono line and I have your car insurance. Well, it's going to be a lot easier for that person to go shop their insurance every 6 months versus I have your car insurance, your house insurance, your equipment insurance, your life insurance. I mean, those multi-line accounts, typically the retention is a lot higher just because you're taking care of more aspects of their life. So
Yeah, well said.
Well, folks, if you need insurance, give Shane Cat a call. Good deal. Shane, you got a couple minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
This ain't going to take long.
Ben had me hunt down a clip from one of Shane's favorite shows ever, which I think Shane may have said one time either he's never seen it or he started it and didn't get it. But Ben, this is
The Office.
Yeah, this is the clip you asked me to find, Ben, and then you can explain its relevance.
If you want to. I don't know if this is that long, but yeah. So the reason I asked Colin to pull that together, I don't think you edited that and brought that. I'm sure that was a clip you found online, or did you do the editing?
I'm thinking about putting it in some festivals.
Oh, well, there you go. So that's exactly how I feel right now, and we don't need to go down this road. But I've gotten to the foyer of, I said that word wrong, of healthcare finance, and I'll be honest, like I know more right now than I did a month ago. But like my boss would just have me do something and then send it to all the CFOs without him looking at it. And so that's what I'm asking. Like, is this what you're going for? Like, my boss isn't as intense as Charles Minor is. Idris Elba playing Charles Minor in that scene. But man, that just is what I feel like every day. Is he just wants me to ask and talk to these people because I'm part of a massive network of hospitals. And so I could be talking to the CFO of like, George Washington University Hospital in Washington, D.C., or like one up in, Washington State, or one in Houston, like wherever. And I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking to these people that have been doing healthcare finance for 20 plus years. And I think he has more trust in me than I have in myself. Well, he obviously does. And that's just what I feel like Jim. Like, okay, you want to take a look at it? Like, no, should I? Like, no, I'll send it on.
Just send it out.
Yeah, I just send it out to see what happens.
Dude, there's nothing.
That's what I feel like.
New jobs are always fun, but there's always that other feeling of like everyone knows what they're doing except you. So like you're figuring out what the job even is for the first like 5-6 months or whatever. Is that where you're at right now, Ben?
Dude, it's gotten better like just in the last, honestly, like week. But there's so many systems. There's systems I didn't even got into. Like I'm still trying to figure out like 2 or 3 things. Like we pulled data from 7-8 different like applications and programs. Then we use Excel in a way that I've never used Excel before. And I thought I knew Excel, but I don't know Excel. I'm like Shane. If you know Shane, he loves a big old yellow like pad that he can write down and have everything. I'm sure he's got one there right next to his office, right next to his desk. That's my type of thing, and I'm just out of my element sometimes, but it's getting better. So,
dude, so
that's
I've got
really
to use Excel this weekend. We got a golf tournament, and the girl that does the Calcutta is going to be out of town, and I kind of help with the tournament and do some of the stuff. And they don't have anybody that's willing to do the Calcutta. I was like, well, I'll do it. It can't be that bad. And like I said, I'm not great with computers and algorithms. You got to plug in all these people's names, plug in the money amount, plug in, and it
formulates. The portion comes back to the tournament, right?
Yeah,
it takes
exactly.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
The thought of Shane.
7 flights, and I'm going to be sitting there with 100 drunk guys trying to flight they're in, how much they're paying for the Calcutta. The auction's going to be going on. I am a nervous wreck.
That's intense because there's money exchanging hands right after it. So there's no time to
thousands
figure
of
out if you messed up thousands, tens of thousands of dollars.
I mean, it's going to be, and they say you just plug in the names, but every year something goes wrong. And this girl is an Excel expert. She created all this. And she's going to be at the beach, and I'm going to be stuck doing it. So
I was going to say the thought of Shane sitting there. Do what, Ben?
I was going to say, what are the chances Shane just has 20 pieces of yellow paper out on the table? It's all said and done.
I'd rather write it down and then figure it out behind the doors, just get everybody away from me. Because literally, it's on a projector, and this thing's real time calculating how much.
Yeah, because they tell you what your take will. Like if you win
it's
first or whatever, this is what it's going to be. Yeah.
It's going to be an absolute nightmare.
Thought of Shane doing Excel formulas has me cracking up. Like pulls out a pair of glasses on the end of his nose, just typing up something.
I'm not looking forward to it.
And you're probably in it, right? So if something happens.
So it's probably going to be my flight, my team. Somehow it's going to get messed up in my favor. It's going to not be good.
And you're probably in the wrong flight because you're a sandbagger, and it's just multiple. It's going to compound on each other.
Giving away my secrets now.
Ben, we're wrapping up, but do you or me have any fantasy advice for Shane going into this year's fantasy football season? Because we've both won the championship, and I've won it twice. I didn't mean to say that, but it's true. And
y'all said y'all couldn't see the trophy, but I got it back there.
No, I believe you. My name better be up there twice. Twice in 4 years, I should add. And Ben, how long ago were you? Was that the Obama administration?
Man, I don't even remember.
2018.
18. So
18.
Yeah.
No, that's Trump. Yeah.
Oh yes, it was. Yeah. Yeah. I think just you let it come to you, Shane. Dude, first off, my one, I'm the luckiest thing. I get a little trade happy. Don't trade. Just sit back and let it come to you. Get lucky as Colin has. Colin knows nothing about football and is won twice.
He auto-drafted 1 year and won.
I don't claim to have any skill because the year that I won, I went 7-6 in the regular season. So I was barely above 500. And that's why our unnamed friend is so mad that I won that year because I got into the playoffs like in 6th or whatever, like last spot.
I think it was like a tiebreaker type scenario, and somehow you got in.
I'm sure all the Kindalls are enjoying all the fantasy football talk, but I will say when our friend Ryan, wasn't even in the league, didn't know he was drafting until the night of, drafted team and won that year, the first year he was in it, that just bursted my bubble. Like
I printed him off the ESPN top 300. That's all he had. I printed off the top 300 ESPN list, and that's what he drafted off of.
I hate it. I hate that he won, but anyways.
He's done terrible since. It's all right.
Shane, I got to quickly tell a story. So whoever wins gets to pick like a game for how we pick the next year's draft order. And I copied down a bunch of questions from Trivial Pursuit. And like I would say 75% of our friend group were like college soccer players. So they watched the World Cup, and I never watched anything. One of the Trivial Pursuit questions was, how many teams are in the World Cup finals? I think was how the question was phrased.
I don't think it was finals. I think it was final. There was no plural.
Okay, the World Cup final. And so all the soccer guys were like, oh, Colin's an idiot. It's 2. But the answer, according to Trivial Pursuit, I think was 32. Like however many teams were in the tournament. And so that
8 groups of 4.
People, and that was the very first question out of the gate. So my friends didn't have a lot of confidence in me after that question.
Yeah, you haven't done great with your pre-draft ideas.
Hey, it cannot be worse than this current one where we had to pick golfers who were not even in the tournament.
Yeah, they had already teed off.
Yeah,
dude, it was 10 o'clock. Again, I'm sure the Kindalls are loving this. It was 10 o'clock. We were having to draft golfers that were playing in the Open, which is in Scotland this year. And the first tee time was like in an hour and a half after everybody already learned. And I know we're a bunch of old men. Half of us were asleep. So by the time they woke up, like half the field was already finished.
Yeah, I think Ben benefited from that. He switched to a guy that was in second place.
Well, it wasn't going to be fair. I mean, anybody could have picked him.
We'll see what Hector comes up with for the next few parts.
We'll update the Kindles next week, Ben, on how it all shook out.
Yeah,
all right, boys.
They'll be on their edge of their seat.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Kristen, she's in the next room over, and she can't wait to hear how fantasy football stuff's going. So, Shane, we love you. Good luck on the insurance biz. I know. Well, we'll do the finals.
I'm sorry.
Telling Shane, thanks for coming on.
I know y'all gave me a little shout out last week, but for the followers.
Yeah, Shane is the one. Shane, hold that up to the camera a little bit more. That's a weird,
koozie?
Original koozie printed. Well, Shane, did your sister make them or just order them?
She makes them.
Okay, yeah. Shane's sister always makes some dynamite swag for the league. Those are awesome.
We've got a supplier. No big deal.
we could sell a couple of them and shoot at y'all's way. Your first.
Well, not to get off
how that
again,
works.
but we ordered koozies like a year ago, and I still haven't got them. And he's had them. I think they were right there next to him.
The Dukes ones?
The other ones. Yeah.
Hey, I put y'all's in the mail, and the Dukes koozies in there as well. It got sent back to me because I didn't put enough postage on it. It weighed too much, I guess. So. I just dropped it in the box. I didn't go up front and ask him, but so it'll be there.
Well, Shane, you're awesome. I feel like you're one of the few that are passionate about listening to us, so we really appreciate it, and thanks for coming on.
I hadn't missed one. Appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, Shane has been a day oneer. All right, Shane, take care, buddy. Good luck with the biz. We'll do our sign off, and we'll see you soon.
What do I say?
I'm visiting God's country here in a week and a half, so the boys will be back in town.
Can't wait.
Yeah, you know what to say, don't you?
Maybe.
Meets life. Okay.
I know, man. I was giving everybody a hard time because they don't know.
Yeah. All right. You've been listening to We're Just Ken,
where comedy
meets life.
One song only.
Yeah.